Hey everyone, welcome back to the Handmade Homestead and Garden. It's Angela Allen, and I am so glad to see you today. If you're new here, you're absolutely welcome. If you are one of my frequent viewers, thank you so much for being here with us again. I am so appreciative of you. It is a very beautiful day at the end of October here on the east coast of the United States. We are in coastal Rhode Island, zone 7A. We're fairly temperate. We do get down below freezing. Sometimes we do get snow off and on a little bit in the winter, not usually too much. We have a couple of events a year to shovel, but that's about it. Our first frost date is usually expected after the 15th of October, and somewhere between there and Halloween, we usually get our first really hard freeze. And we've not had that yet, so everything in the garden still looks pretty good. But there is a lot less in the garden than usual. We've been pulling plants as we harvest and prepping garden beds, but there are still plenty of beds to prep and still several kinds of vegetables in the garden we are still harvesting and eating pretty much every day. So I'm going to take you on a quick little tour and show you what we've been harvesting and what's left to harvest, and what's left for work to be able to put this garden to bed for the winter. Now it is very, very windy out here, so I am wearing an external mic. I'm hoping that that will give you better sound quality. All right, let's go. You can see that there's actually still quite a bit in my garden. It's kind of surprising. These are my fruit trees. They're all doing really well. The pear at the very end is starting to lose its leaves, but the peach trees, the apple trees, they're all still doing really well. And the zinnia, I let the frost take those because once that happens, I'll be able to come out and harvest seeds off of these. They're always so beautiful. And I like to keep a lot of colors on. There's a lot of pink right here, but there are some other colors too. And I do that so that I have a variety of colors to replant. This bed is where we grew all of our peppers this year. Remember those big 5-foot tall pepper plants? Well, that's where they lived. I haven't reset it. I need to put compost on it and then some grass clippings for mulch. And I haven't done that yet because I'm just letting those zinnia down at the end finish their job so I can harvest some of these seeds. But as you can see, some of the seeds really are ready to harvest. But yeah, we'll get some of these harvested, these seeds, when they dry a little bit more, and then clean this out. And then as soon as all the green foliage is down, both of these rose bushes, this one and that one down there, will get cut back and shaped. This is a lot of wild growth. These have already been pruned a couple of times this year. And we'll get to that. Both of these panels in the front here are 16 feet long. And these are New Dawn roses. They're wonderful, beautiful. I will try to stick a picture in here for you to see what they look like when they're in bloom, because they're just a stunning rose. This bed here, most of it has been harvested. This had basil all at this end. As you can see, there's a few weeds in there. I haven't covered it back up. There's a little patch of Swiss chard right there. I picked most of that this morning. And then this end, again, was peppers and eggplant. And you can see they've been pulled out. There's a calendula down at this end down here. Part of the bed is about ready, but the rest isn't. When we get our first frost, I'm going to pull that Swiss chard and then just prep this whole bed for next year's sowing, because I have Swiss chard in another spot. I really don't need it in two places over the winter. This bag has already had the zucchini removed. It's had compost. It's had grass clippings. It is all set to be planted next spring. This row, those tomatoes, and these are getting to the end of their life, but they are still producing tomatoes. Mike and I just came out here and picked a great big bowl of tomatoes this morning. So we're going to let them go a little bit longer. let some more of them get ripened up before we take them down. I have topped all these tomato plants so they won't continue to grow taller. Most of the tallest vines I've cut. There's some here on these sun goals that could use some more pruning back, but they're okay for now. I want these to put their effort into ripening those tomatoes and not to growing more of them. So we can walk down this row and take a look on this side, and then we'll go to that side. So in the barrel here, these are leeks. I'm going to let them go as long as they can. They're still quite small. But if it starts to get too cold, I can just move that barrel right into my sunroom. I had radishes here. Those have been removed. I'm not planting again there. That is some kale that the caterpillars have been enjoying. You can tell by the lacy Swiss cheese look of the leaves, but again, that's okay. We're really not harvesting it anymore, and they can have them. That's fine. I have plenty in the freezer. So those green onions right here, they go right back there. Those will stay in over winter. We will use them until the frost hard freezes them, but they will come up again next year. They will produce flowers. We will use the greens. We will use the flowers. And then next year I will pull them out and I will use the bulbs. And next year I will also start a new planting of onions somewhere else in the garden. That's what I did up there in that space, past those two little teepee trellises. I had green onions there that I planted last year, and we used them. And this year they came up and we were able to use the flowers, use the greens, and then pull and use the bulbs. So I always do that with green onions. That's how I grow my onions. I'm not much for taking up a lot of garden space for bulbed onions. So that's how I grow them. This had a tomato in it, but there's nothing in it now. The back right here, that pile of sticks you see right about there is bronze fennel. That will come up year after year. It's perennial. I cut it way back so it doesn't drop seeds everywhere, so I don't have bronze fennel coming up everywhere in my garden. And then this is Swiss chard and celery. Both are still growing strong, and I just harvested those this morning. And the tomato row. And they finally succumbed to a little bit of blight, which is not a big deal in October. But as you can see, they are just full of clusters of tomatoes still. So again, I did top them. I went around and I cut all the tops of the vines down so that they would put the rest of their energy into ripening these tomatoes. So this is large red cherry. And here on the other side of the aisle, these are all sun gold tomatoes. And as you can see, they're quite small. They've really kind of started to get to the end of the line. They're even smaller than usual, but there are still, if I can move this leaf, you can see some really nice big clusters of tomatoes in here too. So we're going to give them as much time as they can have if it gets frosty. And they're done, they're done. Now this, again, I have to show you this because I marvel at them every year. These are midnight snacker tomatoes. Can you see how many there are just in this one spot here? Midnight snacker tomatoes have all of these anthocyanins in them, and the more they're exposed to the sun, the blacker the fruit. And it doesn't matter, they taste delicious either way. So these fruits will get more and more purple until they get downright black. But you can see, I think, that is a purple going into black, and then the more sun exposure you get, the deeper the black color of them. Aren't they amazing? I just think they're amazing. My favorite tomato for cherry tomatoes. I always grow them. And this right here is where we had the Balkan butternuts. And you can see that big trellis in the back there. That's where all those tromboncino were growing. And this side of this trellis, this was the Jet Star tomatoes that have all been removed. Aren't the marigolds pretty remarkable? Isn't it funny how they always look the best at the end of the season? And those, again, will stay there, both the yellow and those Queen Sophia types, until the end of the season, because I will save the seeds. I plant my own seeds every year from my own marigolds. I haven't bought marigolds in years, so I just keep replanting them. The very end over here, this is a volunteer tomato plant. It's given us some really nice little tomatoes. That's where I planted my pole beans, but that's okay. This one volunteered and we let it stay. That at the back, that is a volunteer Juliet tomato. And again, we left it and it's done really well. It's still producing really great fruit. And this is my last back beds of the garden. I have 2 rows right over here, one against the fence and then another one here. It's kind of hard to tell because the tree leaves fall and then they cover over the beds. So it's hard to tell the walkways, the bed, walkway, and bed apart, but nonetheless, there are 2 beds there. This bed going down has some cabbages in it. They're coming along. They might not produce anything before the frost, but that's not really a problem for me. If for some reason the frost becomes too much or they get frozen and they go past, I'm just going to pull them up and give them to my chickens anyway. At this time of year, that's what I do with a lot of the greens. I grow them for the hens, so I'm not really concerned about how much they do or don't mature. My chickens are going to think they're a delicious snack no matter what. So there's cabbages in here, and at the very end, there's bok choy greens. But again, those are there for the chickens, not really for us. My little sitting area. This trellis over it usually has green beans on it. And that's what we grew here this past year. We grew purple and Kentucky Wonder, I think, or Kentucky Blue, one of those. My little bench needs some repair and the cushion's missing this time of year, but it looks kind of sad and lonely, but it's still one of my favorite places to sit. And then all the way down in the back are where the sweet potatoes are that we pulled out in the video I did a couple of days ago. And this back area, I usually grow melons or something in this box. It's already had compost added. It does need some more compost added, but the little pole bean bed right there and the sweet potato bags are already set for next year. They're just waiting for a little bit of grass mulch on them. And here's a close-up of that Juliet tomato that volunteered. And as you can see, it's still got plenty to offer the gardener. So this gardener is not pulling it until it either gets killed back by frost or gives up. I'm not sure which one of those things will happen first, because Juliets don't usually give up. So right now, at the end of October, the garden is looking a little bit bare. There's not a ton left in it. We do have some Swiss chard, some tomatoes still coming out, and some carrots. Onions, there's some kale if we wanted it. Bok choy and cabbage still here, obviously. That's about all we have left, besides harvesting some flowers to bring in a vase. Some of our beds are ready for spring planting already, but many, many more are still waiting to be tended to, which we'll get to. We'll get to them soon enough. And as a reminder, here is a few seconds of the lushness and productivity of the midsummer garden. Just about a month ago, it's hard to believe how much of a change happens in just a few weeks, but that's okay. Wintertime is a time of rest, and the soil needs to rest too. Well, thank you for joining me today for a quick little garden tour. If you find this kind of content helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us so much with the algorithm, and we are actively trying to grow this channel. And your support is so appreciated and so important. And I will see you next time. Take care.